Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. Today, we got a great video for you today. Got a lot of topics to tackle. Something interesting happened with the Grizz last week. Clifton Mcdowell tweeted out a cryptic tweet quoting a tweet from last year where he said, "Natty pending." We will be talking about that. We are going to talk about the lack of FCS QB success, FCS to FBS transfer QB success. That is a article from Sam Herder that we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about position groups to watch for this weekend at Montana Spring Game, position groups that I'll be paying attention to, position groups that you guys could also pay attention to. We'll talk about that. The Super League that may be or may not be coming to college football, which could rock the college football world, which could be crazy. I don't know if it'll be good. I don't know if it'll be bad. It'll definitely be something different. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the 9 FCS players on Chad Reuter's top 5 round mock of the draft, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about that. UConn's women's basketball and the foul that happened in the game against Iowa that was very controversial. We'll talk about that. We are going to talk about South Carolina's women's basketball team winning the national championship Monday night. That was amazing. No, Sunday night that happened. That was amazing. We're also going to talk about that. But make sure you guys hit the like button right now, hit the subscribe, and we are going to get right into it. Okay, so first things first. Clifton Mcdowell seems to be signaling that he may be coming back to Montana. Now, nothing's been made official yet. Nothing has been said publicly yet about if he's coming back or not coming back. We know the coaches aren't going to say anything. We know the players aren't going to say anything about it. But Clifton seems to be trying to send his own type of message. So last year in May, when he committed to Montana, he tweeted some pictures, which me and my fiance debate if they're edited pictures or not. I don't think they're edited. You know, his cleats look like they're in the turf, but my fiance said they look like they're Photoshopped. That's another story for another day. He quoted that. First he retweeted it, and that's how I saw it. He retweeted it. He had reposted it, and it was at the top of my timeline, and it said Natty pending with some dots, and I can't remember. I think the hashtag was like keep stacking or something. But then I tweeted that. I took a picture. I screenshotted that and took a picture of it and was like, Clifton seems to be signaling that he's trying to come back to Montana or that he is coming back to Montana. He then quoted the tweet and said, put some hourglasses on it, which I don't know if that means, we're waiting. That seems to mean something revolving Montana. I think a lot of fans are, thinking that he's coming back now. That seems to be what's going to happen. He originally transferred a couple days after the national championship. He transferred to Temple. Well, not even a couple days after the national championship. A couple days after the national championship, he entered the transfer portal. Following that, he transferred to Temple like a week or so. A couple weeks later, he transferred to Temple. Some time has gone past. People have speculated that maybe he didn't have his degree. I know he has BS in psychology in his bio, so, he probably does have a degree judging off that. But, a lot of people were talking about the transfer rules, but the NCAA made a rule this year that if you transfer in the 2023 to 2024 season, you don't have to fill out a waiver or anything for the 2024-2025 season. So I think that rules that out. I think it rules him not having a degree out. So everybody's kind of wondering, what happened at Temple? Not everybody has the full story right now of what happened at Temple, but everybody does know that a couple weeks ago, he re-entered the transfer portal. Now, I don't know what his recruitment has been like. I don't know how many coaches have been calling him and going after him, but I know he's back in the transfer portal, and it seems that he's trying to make his way back to Montana. That's what it feels like. That's the vibes around Missoula. Now, fans can say however they want to feel about that. He did get us to the national championship, so there's that. I mean, we do have Logan Fife and Kiali'i Ayat at the helm right now. It's actually Kiali'i Ayat's birthday today. Happy birthday to you, sir, if you do see this. But I don't know, man. You guys let me know in the comments how you feel about this. I know you guys will have a lot to say about this. I know reading some of the comments from some of the fans under some of the posts, I don't think some fans are very happy to see that he may potentially be coming back. You can feel however you want to feel about it. He did get us to the national championship. A lot of fans are talking about, he was worse in the playoffs. He didn't play as well in the playoffs, this and that. Whatever. We went to the national championship. I think it's very interesting if he does come back. I think this goes against what Houck has previously said about transferring. I think his feeling about transferring is like you can transfer, but don't try to come back. So for him to now allow Clifton to come back, I think that shows growth. And I think, he shows some grace to Clifton McDowell because Clifton is a young guy. Obviously, he's bounced around college football, hasn't found necessarily the right situation. A lot of Grizz fans and honestly myself would say Montana was the right situation for him. I'm not so sure why he left. I think a lot of fans were kind of confused that he left, but I think, for the most part, I think fans were like, he got us to a national championship. Obviously we didn't get it done, but go be great somewhere else. But now to see him come back, it's very interesting. I don't really know how to feel about it because, obviously Keali'i and Logan Fife have been, obviously battling out for that job. I don't know how, I don't know how Sam Vidlak has been doing in that competition, but I think the consensus is that it's between Logan Fife and Keali'i. I think if you drop Clifton McDowell into that situation now, it becomes very interesting because obviously we know what he can do. Obviously we know what he brings to the table. Obviously we know what he adds to this offense. But it's the fact that he left. You're going to have to gain the trust back of your teammates, gain the trust back of the coaches, and obviously prove yourself because guys have been making waves on the team now in the quarterback room. Logan Fife, Keali'i Ayat have been making waves, have been making their names, and have been, building up their resumes in the coach's eyes. So I think it'll be interesting to see you drop another potential starting quarterback in this quarterback room, shake things up, see how it plays out. I mean, I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't even know if he's for sure coming back yet. He seems to be signaling that he's coming back, but nothing has been made official yet. There's nothing officially on the roster. Nobody has said anything. Nobody spoke on it yet. So it's a very unique situation. This is obviously, I mentioned this a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago when I was talking about him entering the transfer portal, how I mentioned the Caden Proctor situation. He left Alabama, went to Iowa. A lot of people thought he got some NIL money. I don't think he got that much NIL money, but he left Iowa and went back to Alabama, and he was welcomed with open arms. It seems like Clifton McDowell is trying to do the same thing. He's trying to leave Montana, go to Temple. For some reason, Temple didn't work out. We don't 100% know what that reason was, but now he seems to be coming back to Montana. I don't know for sure. Nobody knows for sure. It seems that way. And, fans can feel how they want. You guys can let me know in the comments what you think about that. But I think it's a very interesting situation. I think it's kind of wild. I just think it shows growth with Coach Houck to understand, that young players make mistakes. I would have to talk to Clifton to understand, all the ins and outs of why he transferred and then why he then potentially returned if he is returning. I think it's a very interesting situation. I think it's kind of wild. I think it's just crazy. I think it's very indicative of this NIL transfer portal era that we are living in. Players trying to get paid, players, looking for the best situation, especially with the NCAA doing that transfer rule for this year. Guys don't have to wait. They don't have to sit out a year or there's no waiver process. So guys can go wherever they want and play right away. So that adds another aspect to this transfer portal situation that a lot of players are benefiting from, like Clifton and Caden Proctor. But I would love to have some answers. I know everybody's looking for some answers. I know everybody would like, the Montana football team to come out with some answers. I know people would like Clifton. Obviously Clifton's being cryptic on Twitter, but the vibes are that he's coming back. I feel like that's what he was trying to say with that tweet. We don't 100% know, obviously, because he didn't say I'm committed to Montana. He didn't say I'm coming back to Montana, but that's what it feels like. We all can feel it. We all know what it feels like out here. It feels like he's coming back. You guys let me know. Would you guys welcome him back with open arms? Do you guys feel like he can bring do you guys think he can take us back to the national championship and finish the job this year? Or what do you guys feel like? I don't want to tell you guys how to feel. I can just give you guys the information that I know and what I saw and give you guys my thoughts. I think it'll be very interesting. I'm very interested. Like, the thing that interests me about it is the fact that, there's a young quarterback. I think confidence for a young quarterback is very big. So dropping a guy who started last year, who everybody thought was gone, bringing him back, I don't know how that would do to Keali'i. I don't know if he's a competitor and he wants to fight. Obviously he's a competitor. He plays football, so I would hope that he wants to fight for that job, but I don't know. So we will see. You guys let me know in the comments what you think about that, but we will move on. Okay, Sam Herder had this article last week talking about the lack of FCS to FBS transfer quarterback success, and I think it's very interesting. So we're going to look at it, and I'll read you some of the quotes off here. In 2022, there were 10 FCS to FBS transfer quarterbacks. Only one became a full-time starter at their FBS school, Cameron Ward of Incarnate Word to Washington State. The numbers indicate that FCS to FBS QBs who move up have minimal success. I think that's something I put on there. But here's another quote from Sam Herder. Of the 300 plus total FCS to FBS transfers in 2023, only 38%, and this isn't just quarterbacks, this is total transfers, I believe. Only 38% of the transfers started at least half of their games played at their new school. 36% of the transfers were 2022 FCS all-conference players, and 9% of the transfers earned all-conference honors at their new schools. I put on some of the transfers who I think have a good chance to start, or some of the quarterback transfers that I know of that have went from FCS to FBS and how I think they'll do. Max Brosmer is someone I think has a great chance to start at Minnesota. I obviously don't know all the quarterbacks that they have at Minnesota, but I think Max Brosmer is a really good quarterback. Obviously, I didn't know anything about him until I watched I did a Dylan Lobby breakdown. Go check that out on my channel. I did a Dylan Lobby breakdown, and man, I remember when I saw Max Brosmer, I was like, who is this guy? And why didn't I know about him? The reason I didn't know about him is because they were like 5-6 in 2023. So they weren't a very good team. They had some good talent offensively, Dylan Lobby, Max Brosmer, but they played in a really good conference in the CAA. You got Albany in that conference, Richmond, Delaware, Villanova. So they had some really good competition in that conference. I don't know if they played all those teams, but the CAA is a big conference, a pretty good conference, and they weren't able to get to the top. But Max Brosmer, really good player. He has all the talent, all the ability. I think he's somebody that could start. Another player that transferred from the FCS to FBS in this past year, Reese Poffenberger. Now, Reese Poffenberger transferred to Miami. Incarnate Cameron Ward, who originally, I believe, he declared for the draft initially, and then he entered the transfer portal and signed to Miami. So that's very interesting. I know, Reese Poffenberger is only a sophomore, so he still has time, and maybe he feels like, I thought after Cam Ward committed to Miami, he was going to enter the transfer portal and go somewhere else. But I guess he's decided to battle it out or even sit behind a Cam Ward for a year, because I think Cam Ward's about to be a senior, so he might only have to sit back a year and watch, or maybe he'll win the job over Cam Ward. Who knows? I'm very interested in that situation. That's a situation that I'm going to be looking at when the season starts and during training camp and all of those things to see how that works itself out. But Reese Poffenberger, another quarterback who transferred, really good player, another player out of the CAA. They're playing some pretty good quarterback football in the CAA. Max Brosmer and Reese Poffenberger, two really good quarterbacks out of that conference. I think that's a very interesting situation. I don't know if he'll get the start in 2024 because of Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's a really good player. I think they have two similar skill sets, really good passers of the football. I don't know so much if they're runners. I don't think Cam Ward is really a runner, and I don't think Reese Poffenberger is really a runner. I don't know what kind of system Miami runs or anything like that, but that's an interesting situation. Another quarterback that transferred. And then the third quarterback that I noticed that transferred out of the FCS from Holy Cross, Matt Sluka. He has a really good skill set. He's a really good runner and a decent passer. I think he's a better runner than he is a passer, but he transferred. I'm not actually sure where he ended up. I don't know where he ended up. Excuse me. Somebody can let me know in the comments where he ended up, but that's another FCS quarterback that transferred. So, three quarterbacks that transferred that I think have good chances of being pretty good at the FBS level. Matt Sluka is probably the last on that list out of those three, not last on the list of total transfer quarterbacks, but last on my list of those three who transferred, who could have success at the FBS level. But it's very interesting that, why is it that FCS quarterbacks move up to the FBS level and don't find success? I would say it's probably attributed to, the faster game. At the FBS level, players are a little faster, players are a little bigger, things are happening a little faster. Probably takes a couple years for players to acclimate to that. So I think it's very similar. I mean, it's no different than any other position player switching to the FBS, going from the FCS to the FBS. When you look at the numbers, when Sam Herder did his video looking at the numbers, and I just read off the numbers, most players don't find the same success at the FBS level that they did at the FCS level. But then when you look at players who have spent extended time at the FBS level, not just grad transferring for their senior year, players that go for multiple seasons and play at the FBS level, they seem to find success, like Jared Verse, supposed to be a first-round draft pick in this draft. There were some other players on there. I can't even remember there was a defensive back that I mentioned in that video. But I think it takes more than just 1 year. So maybe that will play itself in Reese Poffenberger's situation. He transferred as a sophomore. He's got a couple years of eligibility left. Maybe he will find great success at the FBS level, having some years to see the game from that speed and see the game at that level. Could be interesting. Who knows? I think that, at the FCS level, bad throws don't hurt you as much as they probably would at the FBS level. So at the FCS level, throws that would be incomplete, sometimes, you might have an error throw here or there, or you might have more error throws at the FCS level, but at the FBS level, those error throws are more often than not more often than not, but more times at the FBS level than at the FCS level, those bad throws end up being interceptions and negative plays. And also things are probably happening faster, like I mentioned a minute ago. So that pass rush is probably getting there faster. The linemen are probably a little bigger, so it's probably harder to see over the line. I mean, I don't know how tall all of these quarterbacks are. I think Reese Poffenberger's like 5'11", maybe 6 foot. I don't know how tall Max Brosmer is or Max Saluka, but I think they're both over 6 foot. But I mean, I'm kind of just spitballing here. I don't really know why there's a lack of success from FCS to FBS, but it probably has to be attributed to, speed of the game, things happening faster, processing speed. I mean, there's probably a litany of things that play its part. Offenses might be a little more complex. I mean, I don't know what the changeover from, because I only played at Montana, so I never played in a different system in college. So I don't know some of the variations between systems in college from FCS to FBS, but it may be a little more difficult. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. And I also have an interesting perspective because we were able to beat a FBS team. Obviously, we didn't have a crazy offensive game. I think Cam did a great job of managing the game in that aspect. But, I don't know what attributes to the lack of success for FCS quarterbacks moving up to the FBS. But I do think it's interesting that when you look at the success of QBs moving down to the FCS level, they have great success. Cam Miller's a great example. I don't think he played extensive time. I think he came from South Carolina. I don't think he played a lot at South Carolina or played at all at South Carolina, but he's found great success at the FCS level. Dalton Snead, our former cornerback at Montana, he had transferred from UNLV. Obviously, he went to a JUCO before coming to Montana, I believe, but found great success at Montana. I'm trying to think of some more. I mean, Clifton McDowell technically started at the FBS level and moved down to the FCS level after a few transfers, so I guess you could put him in there. But I think you look back at a lot of quarterbacks at the FCS level that have moved down from FBS. I think they find more success from moving down from FBS to FCS than they do going from FCS to FBS. I'd be very interested to know why that was. Gotta believe that it has to do with like speed of the game. Just things are probably happening much faster at the FBS level. They are happening at much faster at the FBS level because I know, when we play FBS teams, like when we played the Oregons, when we played the UWs, when we played those things would happen a little faster. The players are a little bigger, they get to you a little faster on when you feel like you're in the open field, you're getting tackled faster than you usually would expect. Things just happen a little faster. Things are a little tighter. The margin for error is much tighter, and that's probably the biggest thing that I would say, because as you go up levels, the margin for error gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So for some of these quarterbacks moving up from FCS to FBS, the margin for error gets smaller, and they're used to that wider margin for error where you can make a bad throw, where you can sit in the pocket a little longer, where you can overthrow a receiver and it won't necessarily be an interception, or you can throw a bad ball and it won't necessarily end in an interception or a turnover. I think that margin, I know that margin gets shortened and smaller when you go up a level to the FBS to D1, especially some of these guys going to these Power 5 or Power 4 schools. The margin for error gets smaller. So that's probably what I would say probably contributes to it. I honestly don't know. But it's very interesting that FCS quarterbacks moving up to the FBS don't find great success. I would love to know why that is. Hopefully that can change over the next couple of years because, I think if some of these coaches are always going to keep recruiting, and you probably honestly recruit I honestly know you would rather recruit an FCS guy who's willing to transfer to the FBS over bringing in a freshman or somebody who's never played at that level, or even a guy who hasn't had a lot of time. At least you know that this guy can do it at the FCS level, which is still Division I football. You know that they can do it at this level, so why not take a chance on him and see if he can be successful at our school in the Power 5 or Group of 5, whatever it is, and roll the dice that way instead of bringing in a freshman who's never played or a guy who's coming up within the system but still has never played. People want experience. That's how the world works. When you've had experience, when people know that you have done it successfully before, they'd rather bring you in than somebody who's never done it before. So very interesting there. I think it's very interesting that quarterbacks don't find success, but you guys let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. Do you think some of these quarterbacks that have transferred from the FCS this past season will find success? Max Brosmer, Reese Poffenberger, or Matt Saluka. I still don't know where Matt Saluka went, but you guys can let me know in the comments where he transferred to. Do you guys think they'll find success? Let me know. Okay, Montana spring game is this Friday. I just looked and it said Friday, and I still almost said Saturday. Montana spring game is this Friday, April 12th. It's going to be an amazing game. I wanted to talk about some of the position groups that I will be paying attention to during that game. Obviously, what everybody's going to be paying attention to is the quarterback position. That's a position I'm going to be keyed into. Logan Fife, Callie Iayat, and to see Sam Vidlak, see where things stand. Obviously they're all probably going to get reps. Obviously they're going to do a lot of situations. Haux likes to do the situations. He likes to get everybody reps, see guys. Obviously, I don't think he usually plays all the starters with each other, but we'll see how that goes. But I'm interested in the quarterback's position. I want to know how that. Everybody's keyed into that. The quarterback is what we lost, so I think that's a given. I think I don't even have to speak that. Everybody knows that. The next position group that I'm going to be looking at is the defensive line. Alex Gubner, Defensive Player of the Year, Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year, a dog. Somebody I'm going to be keyed into. He just killed his pro day last week, had an amazing day at pro day. Tested really well, I think, tested really well, ran really well, short area quickness showed up, his strength showed up. Everything showed up. His explosion, I think he did really well at his pro day. So I'm interested to see where he'll go, if he'll get picked up as a UDFA, what team is willing to take a chance on him, what team is willing to give him an opportunity, because I know how Gub works. I know how he is. He's going to ball out. Either way, Gub was a stalwart for this defense last year. He held this defense up in the middle. He was amazing for our defense last year. Amazing for the Montana defense last year. They brought in Pat Hayton. I believe he came from Monmouth. He's going to be somebody I'm paying attention to. The D-line, mainly Pat, and mainly that position right there where Gub was, because I know how important Gub was to our defense last year. You can say what you want to say. I don't remember the last time a defensive tackle won Defensive Player of the Year. I think that speaks volumes to all the coaches in the league. They know how dominant Gub was for this defense, and they know what part he played in our defense last year. So that's something I'll be keyed into. Cale Edwards, somebody I put on my top 10 players to watch for the 2024 season. Another player I'll be keyed into. Riley Wilson. Obviously, I think Riley Wilson was all conference. I think he was second team all conference last year. But somebody else I'll be paying attention to. The D-line. It all starts up front in the trenches. The D-line, offensive line, which brings me to my next position group, the offensive line. A lot of new faces on that offensive line, a new coach coaching that offensive line. That's a position group that was good. I think they were better last year than they've been in years past. They had a lot of age on that offensive line. Journey Grimsrud, I think, is returning. You got Brandon Casey on the right tackle returning. Obviously, AJ Forbes is gone at the center position. He was the standard at that center position for the offensive line. He had been the starter for 3 years. That's somebody they're looking to replace. They also have their guard position. I know they played Cannon a lot last year. He has another year of experience under his belt, so that could be good. But the left tackle, Chris Walker, is gone as well. So offensive line is going to be another position that I'm paying attention to, because I think Montana was decent in the run game last year. Obviously, against South Dakota State, they didn't really run the ball successfully that much. Furman, they weren't really able to run the ball that much. North Dakota State, I don't think they really found super success in the run game that much, except for in overtime, when Eli Gilman was able to get into the end zone. So the offensive line is another position group I'm paying attention to. Obviously, they have that first team all-conference tackle in Brandon Casey returning, which is really great for them. But there's a lot of missing pieces there from last year that aren't going to be there. So that's another position group I'm paying attention to. And then the fourth position group that I'm paying attention to, and the final position group that I'm really paying attention to, obviously we'll be watching all of them, but these are some of the position groups that I'll be keyed into, and that is the defensive backs. A lot of new faces on the defensive back side of things. We got Trevin Gradney, but Trajan Cotton's gone, Nash Fouch is gone, Garrett Graves is gone, and then one more, Corbin Walker is gone. So a lot of age leaving that defense, but then you have Jackson Lee returning, Trevin Gradney returning. So there's some old faces that were returning. First team all conference, obviously Trevin Gradney. Corbin Walker was first team all conference last year, so losing him is going to hurt them. But Ronald Jackson is somebody I see is going to have to step up this year, and I'll be paying attention to him. Lamar Campbell, somebody I'll be paying attention to in the spring game. Jaylani Warren is somebody I'll be paying attention to. Kenzel Lawler is somebody I'll be paying attention to. Krishawn Gordon is somebody I'll be paying attention to. There's a lot of guys to pay attention to for this spring game. On the defensive back side of things, there's more defensive backs that I didn't even name, but I'll be paying attention to all of them. I want to see how they're going to do. the defense was really good last year. The defense was really, really good last year. So any piece that you lose, defense is not only about effort and how hard you play, but it's also about the cohesion with all the guys, being able to communicate effectively. And they had that last year. They were really good communicators, really great cohesion on that defense. A lot of guys who have been there for some years and understood how the system worked and understood where I need to be, how I need to play these things, so building back up that cohesion and putting new pieces in is going to be interesting, and I'm interested to see how they play. So defensive backs, paying attention to that. Offensive line, I'm paying attention to that. Defensive line, I'm paying attention to that. And then number one position everybody's going to be paying attention to is quarterbacks. So obviously one thing to note and take everything with a grain of salt is these guys have been going against each other for like 3 to 4 weeks. So this is obviously going to be the last time they're going to go against each other until training camp. So they might be a little worn down. Guys might be a little beat up from spring practices. Coach Houck likes to hit it hard. I know he's been getting softer in the last few years, so they might feel good. And obviously you get to play against in front of a bunch of fans. So I know that's the allure of this game. And these guys obviously want to prove themselves. Not for the fans. I'm not going to say for the fans, but they just want to, they want to show out. Guys want to have a good day. Guys want to, put on a good showing for the fans. I would hope they want to put on a good showing for the fans. Don't do it for us. Do it for your brothers. But, I would hope that you guys will want to perform well. So I'm very interested in the spring game. It's going to be a great time. And yeah, you guys let me know in the comments if there's a position group or a position player, a certain player that you guys are keyed into, wanting to see how they do. I think very interesting. Another interesting player that we all can pay attention to is the running back position. They brought in a new running back from Arizona or Arizona State. I can't remember which Arizona it's from, but another running back into the running back room. So I'll be keyed into him as well. And then Xavier. I was talking to Xavier the other day. They got him running a lot of slot receiver. He really enjoys it. He likes playing slot receiver, being able to get the ball in his hands in space, which is what he does best. So I'm very excited to see how that is, because I haven't got to see him at slot receiver. I know he has decent hands as a running back, but I think he has a decent body for a slot receiver. So to see him getting more burn there is very exciting. And yeah, so you guys let me know what you guys will be paying attention to from the running back standpoint. And I remember I had originally said, honestly, on that Xavier point, I had honestly been confused why they brought in another running back when I knew they had Nick Osmo and Eli in that running back room. But now that you say Xavier is running a little receiver and they only have Eli, I mean, I'm sure Xavier is still probably getting some burn at running back. I don't know. I haven't been out there. But if he's exclusively a receiver, that'll be interesting. But I understand now why they brought in another running back, to bring in somebody to push those guys up front, Eli and Nick Osmo, and, give them something to work for. But I'm excited for the spring game. What are you guys going to be paying attention to? That's what I'm going to be paying attention to. You guys let me know in the comments, and we will move on. A group of sports execs and college presidents is proposing a football super league of 80 schools to pay players collectively bargain and increase revenue. This could change college football. This could really change college football. The current model for governing and managing college athletics is dead. Syracuse Chancellor Kent Syverud told The Athletic during an interview. They are trying to implement a drastically new system that would replace the NCAA and the college football playoff and potentially provide a solution for the hurricane of current and future lawsuits aimed at the business of the sport, plus the NIL and transfer portal issues that they believe have put college athletics as a whole in peril. This is very crazy. A new league. Honestly, the one thing, and I'll get to this in some of these quotes, I'll get to it. The one thing I am very excited about with this potential new change that potentially could happen is that there would be no committee choosing the playoffs. The playoffs would be decided very similar to how it's done in the NFL. There would be, 10 team divisions, I believe. The 10th or the 8th division of the last 10 teams, there's 70 teams. And then let me just get to it. Syverud and G are part of a CST College Sports Tomorrow, a 20-person group, which also includes the NFL's number 2 executive, Brian Rolap, Philadelphia 76ers owner David Blitzer, and league organizer Lynn Perna of Turkey CRG, the search firm that places nearly all the top conference commissioners, including recently the Big Ten's Tony Petitti. The current CST outline would create a system that would have the top 70 programs, all members of the 5 former major conferences, plus Notre Dame and new ACC member SMU as permanent members, and encompass all 130 plus FBS universities. The perpetual members would be in 7 10-team divisions, joined by an 8th division of teams that would be promoted from the second tier. So basically, there's going to be a second tier of football, which I think would merge probably the FCS and the G5 teams left out. I would hope that what they would do would merge those teams into another league, and then it would leave these 70 teams. And my thing would be like, could Montana potentially move up and play? Could Montana potentially be one of these second tier teams? Or could any FCS team potentially be, one of these second tier teams that could move up and play in this division if they have, if they stack some good years on top of each other? I don't know what that would look like. Also, I guess this would be separate from the NCAA. So the NCAA would maintain and the Olympic sports would maintain. This would only encompass college football. That was something that I was very interested in reading in this article, is if so what happens with what happens with, the NCAA. Also, another thing I'm interested in is if players are being paid now, is there going to be a 53-man roster, a 60-man roster in college, or would it still be 100-man rosters? Because obviously if revenue becomes a thing, spots become limited. That is a fact of the matter. That is not up for debate. If revenue is being paid to every player and every player is on a salary, your spot is not guaranteed. And, I don't know. It could get very interesting, but I'm going to keep reading. The 50 plus second division teams would have, no. So it'd just be FBS. It would just be FBS. Forget what I just said about the FCS. No chance for Montana to ever make it. It's whatever. Maybe we'll get our opportunity one day, but not today. The 50 plus second division teams would have the opportunity to compete their way into the upper division, creating a promotion system similar to the structure in European football leagues. The 70 permanent teams would never be in danger of moving down. So the Alabamas, the Michigans, the Oregons, those teams would never be, they would never have to worry about moving down. You're set. The 70 permanent teams would never be in danger of moving down, while the second division would have the incentive of promotion and relegation. So basically, if you're in that last tier of those last 10 teams, if you play bad, you're getting demoted and somebody else is getting promoted. But my next question is so what if the 50 remaining teams they probably all can't play bad. What if there's no really team worthy of moving up? Is it always going to be an every year thing where somebody's moving down and somebody's coming up? Or, will it be a 2-year thing? Every other year, you're either getting promoted or relegated. That's going to be something, a topic of contention as well, because I don't know, say you go to the college or say you go to the playoffs one year, and then the next year you don't, and then you get demoted. It's dang, last year we were just in the playoffs and now we're demoted down to the second tier. That's going to be very interesting. Leagues have been hesitant and canceled meetings so as to not upset their current broadcast partners, including ESPN and Fox. So this is something that the CST, the College Sports Tomorrow, which is what this group that's trying to form this Super League is called. I guess they've been trying to set up meetings with the Big Ten, with the SEC, the ACC. They've been trying to set up meetings with some of these people in positions of power to, propose this proposal, because they see the end of the NCAA as it pertains to college football. They see the NCAA as it pertains to college football coming to an end. They see, the NIL and transfer portal changing college football. They see it happening in front of their eyes, and they're trying to get in front of it. So they're trying to change it. And I think they initially were trying to get this to happen before they signed this college football deal that just extended it to 2032. So I don't think any of these changes at this point would happen until the 2030 or beyond. But very interesting in itself that this is even being discussed. This would create one entity to negotiate with a prospective union that would represent the players on NIL, transfer portal, and salary structure rules. That's very interesting. The fact that and that's what I was talking about with roster spots, walk-ons, how does all that, and how does this pertain to your education? So now that these players will be, there will be a salary structure. Who pays for the education? There's no NCAA. Does the institution still pay for the education? Is that a benefit of these players to come to your institution? Is we're paying you a salary, so then why do we need to give you a education? Because for so long, it's been that these college players are amateurs. So the benefit for them to come to our school is you're getting a free education. Not so much for walk-ons, but for a walk-on, it's like you have an opportunity to earn a scholarship and you get to be a part of this team. You get to be like, that's the allure for walk-ons. But for some of these players that are, 5 stars, 4 stars, it's like you're getting a free education, But now it's like, we don't care about that. We want money. We want money in our pockets. But then what happens with the education? Who's paying for the education? How are these players receiving their like, that's what I'm focused on, is like, what happens with the scholarships? Who gets the scholarships? Where does that go? And then how does that affect Title IX? Because then if college football is no longer a part of the NCAA, how does that affect the balance of Title IX? Because Title IX is essentially all about balance, right? You have to have the same amount of scholarships for men athletes that you do for women's athletes. So then if college football, which has like 180 to 100 players on each team, that's a lot of scholarships. But then if that's no longer part of the NCAA, how does that affect? Do you add more women's sports teams? Because revenue still matters. Revenue on a college campus still matters. So would you add more sports that don't make money onto a college campus? Or I don't know. These are questions that need answers that I don't have right now. But these are just all the questions that come to my mind. Salary structure rules. This embrace of collective bargaining could allow it to avoid the antitrust issues that have limited the NCAA's ability to enforce its own rules. So that's kind of some of the things that I talked about a couple of weeks ago, how a lot of these conferences are trying to sue the NCAA for NIL violation rules. Like they're trying to limit third party, basically these collectives. The NCAA is trying to limit what those collectives can do. There's a lot of rules that the NCAA is coming down with that people are suing them over that is going to cost the NCAA a lot of money. So this could potentially help them avoid those lawsuits by making another alternative that would be fitting. College administrators are particularly concerned about the House versus NCAA class action lawsuit in Northern California, seeking NIL revenue denied to athletes prior to 2021 rule changes. If the plaintiffs are successful, the NCAA and power conferences could be on the hook for billions in damages. The House case is one of several potential crippling federal antitrust suits related to athlete employment rights and NIL compensation. So basically, CST sees this as a way to bail the NCAA out when the NCAA has been looking for the government to bail them out with all these lawsuits. The government has basically told them, this is your bed, you got to lay in it. You made this bed, lay in it now. Like, you created these problems with not paying players. You created these problems with your transfer rules. So now that people are suing you, you need to fight back. Like, we're not going to be the ones to bail you out. But this is very interesting. And, some of the concerns that I have is with like Title IX, scholarships, walk-ons, like what is the effect on all of that? Are these players even required to get an education at this point? Or is it just that are you just like, I don't know, because you're technically still going to a college, but does the college now just exist to give these players an opportunity to play football? Is that why these colleges exist at this point? If this were to go through, would that be the method? Because they're no longer I don't know. They're receiving revenue. Like, they're part of the revenue structure of the university at this point. Like, would they now be employees of the university? And I guess employees also of universities get benefits like education benefits, but are those full ride scholarship education benefits, or do you just give them a discount on tuition? Do they get to pay in-state tuition? Like, I don't know. These are answers that we need. These are questions that we need answers to, which I don't have, but a lot of questions. What do you guys think about this prospective super league that could be coming to college football? Like I said, this could completely rock the college football world. This could be a major change in college football that could change up a lot of things. Another question I also have is about that revolving door of that those last 10 teams. Would it be an every other year thing? I guess probably some of these are probably things that they haven't even probably thought about, but they're thinking of a way that could replace the NCAA that would be good for college football, which is not good right now with the way NIL is regulated and with the way it's not pay for play, but that's basically what it is. Gosh, that was crazy. It's not pay for play, but that's basically what it's been so far since NIL has got passed. So, yeah, we need answers. What do you guys think about this? I think it's a crazy change that could completely rock college football, but you guys let me know what you guys think and we will move on. Okay, I was looking at Sam Herder posted this on Twitter, pointing out the 9 FCS players in Chad Reuter's 5-round mock draft. The draft is coming up in a couple of weeks. The 5-round mock and the 9 players that are on there are South Dakota State's guard Mason McCormick. He's projected from this mock. He's projected in the 2nd round. 3rd round is Yale offensive tackle Kieran Amigaji, and University of Northern Iowa's defensive tackle Christian Boyd. Those are 3rd round players. The 4th round is HCU edge Jalix Hunt. Isn't that Houston Christian? Is it Houston Christian University? Okay, I was correct. Houston Christian University, Jalix. It just sounded weird because Houston Baptist is a university as well, isn't it? I don't know. You guys can let me know. The 4th round, Houston Christian University edge Jalix Hunt. 5th round, South Dakota State offensive tackle Garrett Greenfield. Grambling edge Sundiata Anderson. University of South Dakota defensive back Miles Harden. SEMO wide receiver Ryan Flournoy, and University of New Hampshire running back Dylan Lobby. Those are 5th round players. Interesting that Isaiah Davis isn't on there. Some people have Dylan Lobby rated higher than Isaiah Davis apparently, which doesn't really surprise me the way the NFL has been changing these days. You really need a running back who is good in the run game, but also is good in the pass game. I mean, you need a running back who can kind of do it all. I think the days of just having a bruiser running back is kind of fading with the way the NFL is officiated and the way people pass the ball as much as they do these days. I think you need a running back who can do a little bit of all, like Christian McCaffrey. I see Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he's the best back in the league, and he's the standard right now. Catch out of the backfield, really good receiver out of the backfield, but is a really good runner between the tackles. You can run outside the tackles with him. You can do it all. I see Dylan Lobby as more of that than Isaiah Davis is. Not that Isaiah Davis isn't a good running back. I love Isaiah Davis. He's a great running back, really patient. I love watching him run the ball. He's amazing. But I think Dylan Lobby is more fitting of what they're looking for in the NFL these days, and that's why they have him rated in the 5th round. And at least in this mock, they have him rated in the 5th round, and Isaiah Davis didn't make this top 5-round mock. I'm sure he probably fell in the 6th or 7th round, but whatever. The question I had is that it seems like O-line and D-line get drafted more out of the FCS than any other position group, and I'm interested to know why that is. Do you think that's like, I don't know. I tried to think of a reasoning as to why, like I tried to put it in my notes as to why that reasoning is, but I couldn't even think of a reasoning, and I had to ask the question, though. It's like, why are more offensive line and defensive line always drafted from the FCS than skill position players? Is it because they respect a skill position player from Power 5, Group of 5 more than they respect a skill position player from the FCS? Is it because, I guess, I mean, I don't know, because there's way bigger D linemen and offensive linemen at the FBS level than there is at the FCS level. I mean, you see a lot of small linemen. I mean, that is the difference in football. I feel like skill level players are way more transferable from FCS to FBS than, big guys. Maybe it's because all the skill level players that are really, really good transfer out of the FCS to go to FBS. But, maybe it's because O-line and defensive line play is way more transferable at the big. Like, if you're big and strong and you can move well at the FCS level, that's usually probably going to translate no matter what level of football it is. Like, big, fast, you move well, that usually translates. Like South Dakota State's offensive guard Mason McCormick. He's big, he's fast, he can move well. That translates to any level of football. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they, I don't know. Maybe that's why defensive linemen and offensive linemen have been drafted. And maybe the numbers say that I'm incorrect. Maybe there are more skill players from the FCS level that get drafted. But it just seems like, looking at this mock and, when you look at some of the past years of players that get drafted high, it seems like Trevor Penning got drafted high. Spencer Brown got drafted really high. I can't think of a lot of other players, but there's a lot of players from the FCS level that get drafted pretty high that are really skill positions, like Kalen Saunders, who went to Kansas City, played there for a few years. I don't know where he's at now, but a D lineman got drafted pretty high. And then, the list goes on. You can look back and see all the, big guys that get drafted from the trenches. I don't know. Maybe you guys can let me know. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think of this 5-round mock? Do you think Isaiah Davis, do you think there's other players who should have been higher on this list? Or, do you think there's a player on here that probably shouldn't have been on here? You guys let me know, and we will move on. Okay, UConn's women's basketball team loses on a controversial illegal screen foul with 4 seconds left in the game. I'm going to play the video and then I'll talk about it. Here is the video of the foul. Here's the video of the foul. It's in slow motion, but pay attention. They're going to call it right here. They called it a moving screen. There was about 4 seconds left in the game, and they called her for a moving screen. I don't know. I think I'll talk about it in a second, but let's finish the video. Watch it one more time. They called an illegal screen. There was 4 seconds left in the game. 4 seconds left after they called this foul. Okay, so that penalty happened. There was about 4 seconds left after that penalty happened. This is in the Final Four. So this was in the semifinals, Iowa versus UConn. Iowa won. They played in the national championship. They lost to South Carolina. South Carolina made it undefeated season, first undefeated season since 2016 by no other than, what was the team that went undefeated in 2016? UConn. So some blue bloods in there on the basketball side. I don't know if you would consider South Carolina blue blood, but I'm sure UConn is probably considered a blue blood, especially on the women's side. But anyway, that penalty happened. So that penalty happened, and some could say that caused Iowa to lose the game. Now, Paige Beckers wasn't really open. They switched on that screen, and she wasn't really going to be very open at all. Anyway, she could have forced up a shot, but who's to say that shot would have went in? But in my opinion, you don't make that call in that point in the game. A lot of people are saying it was a penalty, it's a penalty, whatever. There is illegal screens probably 5 to 10 times in every basketball game you can watch. NBA, men's basketball, probably in youth basketball too, probably in AAU. There's probably illegal screens. I don't watch a lot of AAU basketball, but there's illegal screens happening every point in the game. And what stood out to me was that they didn't call that penalty at all in the game. And you can probably look back on a bunch of screens and say, oh, this is probably close. She's moving a little bit. She's sliding. Now, did it look a little bad? Yes. But you don't want the refs to decide a game, especially in a game that was so back and forth right then. I can't remember who had battled back. I think UConn had battled back to make it that close. And then they had an opportunity to win the game right there, or even at least tie the game right there. And for them not to even get an opportunity, not to even get a shot is tough. I hate to see it end like that. And we talk about this in football all the time, like with the Chiefs. People love to say this about the Chiefs, and this is why people always say football is scripted, is because it always seems like, especially when Patrick Mahomes is playing. I am one who's been somebody who said this multiple times. Patrick Mahomes seems like he gets every call. Now, that's not me discounting Patrick Mahomes' talent. He's a great talent. But in that point in the game, when UConn, you don't call that penalty, especially when it didn't have a great effect on the game. They switched the screen, it didn't even, she wasn't wide open from that illegal screen. If you want to deem it an illegal screen, she wasn't wide open. Now, was it illegal? Was she moving? Yes, she was moving a little bit. But you didn't call that all game. Don't decide the games, ref. Let the girls play it out. You would let them play all night. You've been letting them be physical. You've been letting them bang down low. You've been letting them, bump into each other. There's a lot of fouls going on. There's a lot of physicality, aggression going on in this game. They care. It matters to them. They want to win. So now why in this opportunity with 4 seconds left in the game do you call that penalty? That's why people were trying to say that, the basketball gods or, the people wanted Caitlin Clark to make it to the national championship. They wanted to finish her Cinderella story. They wanted her to cap off an amazing career and get a national championship, which I am bummed that she didn't win a national championship. But you don't call that penalty in that time of the game. You just don't. I disagree with that penalty call. I disagree with that penalty call 110%. You can't do that. You can't do that. Did you guys watch that game? Did you guys see that penalty? You guys let me know. I just wanted to speak on that. I really had to speak on that. The refs shouldn't decide a game. They should not decide a game. You guys can let me know in the comments what you think about that. But those are my thoughts, and I'm sticking with it. FCS players all-time bracket. Now, this is a bracket this is something that was posted by the NCAA, FCS NCAA football or something. They posted this, and we're going to look at it. Okay, you got this FCS football players all-time bracket. And here are some of the players on here. Steve McNair, Trey Lance, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Adrian Peterson, Westbrook, Carson Wentz, and Cooper Kupp. Now, I know a lot of people were pretty angry about Trey Lance being on here, but he did have an amazing college career. Now, he only played for 1 year. Randy Moss, I believe, also only played for 1 year. So if that's your argument for Trey Lance not being on there, you're false. I think Trey Lance also went undefeated in college. I don't think he ever lost a game in college. He won the national championship, won the Jerry Rice Award, and won the Walter Payton Award. I mean, I don't know if we've ever seen that done. Now, Cooper Kupp, we all know what Cooper Kupp has done. I think Cooper Kupp is probably the best FCS football player of all time. He broke all of Jerry Rice's records. Randy Moss, obviously, we know what he's done. I don't know too much about what Steve McNair has done. I know what Jerry Rice has done. I honestly would have picked Jerry Rice over Randy Moss. I would have loved to see Jerry Rice versus Cooper Kupp in the finals because Jerry Rice was absolutely ridiculous at Mississippi Valley State. Cooper Kupp against Carson Wentz, I don't really debate that. Adrian Peterson from Georgia Southern versus Brian Westbrook. I don't know too much about those two guys as players in the FCS. That was before my time, but I know they were great players. I'm not mad at Cooper Kupp being in the final. I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts about this. I honestly this is where my point of contention was at. Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. Randy Moss was great. Randy Moss was amazing. Randy Moss, I think, was a Heisman finalist his only year at the FCS. So that's probably why he's on there, is because he was a Heisman finalist from Marshall at the FCS level, which was probably unprecedented. Like, we'd never seen it before. Obviously, he didn't win it, but to be a Heisman finalist from the FCS level says something about your game. I get that. But Jerry Rice was ridiculous. His numbers were ridiculous at the FCS level. I would have loved to see who would have won between Cooper Kupp and Jerry Rice. Honestly, I would take Cooper Kupp over Jerry Rice, and I would take Cooper Kupp over Randy Moss. I would take Cooper Kupp over anybody. His numbers were ridiculous. I remember when he played against Montana my freshman year. I wasn't at the game, but, we watched it on TV because we were watching our guys play, and Cooper Kupp went crazy. You guys let me know what you think about this list. Do you think anybody got left off? Honestly, it's escaping me who they're really leaving off. I think somebody had said Vernon Adams potentially I saw, but I can't really think of a lot of players that they may be missing off on here, but gotta believe Cooper Kupp is going to win this. I don't think they've posted the winner yet, but I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts. Wanted to show this. You guys let me know what you think about this, and we can move on. Let me know if you think somebody got left off. Let me think if somebody, shouldn't have been on here. Well, obviously, if somebody got left off, then you're saying somebody shouldn't have been on here, but you guys let me know and we will move on. Okay, next, I wanted to talk about South Carolina's women's basketball team winning the national championship. Amazing season, 38-0. Carmela Cardosa, really great player. I mean, the freshman for South Carolina played amazing. Ashlyn Watkins, I don't think she's a freshman, actually. Ashlyn Watkins played pretty decently, but they all played a lot of minutes. But Tessa Johnson, amazing game. What was the other freshman? Full Wiley, amazing game. Raven Johnson playing defense on Caitlin Clark, which is very interesting because I guess I didn't even know this happened. I actually remember seeing this from last year, but I wasn't super tapped into the women's tournament last year, to be honest with you. I watched the national championship, which was an amazing game, but I wasn't super tapped into the tournament. But Iowa had played South Carolina, and they beat South Carolina. And there was a point in the game where Caitlin Clark had waved off Raven Johnson. Like, she was standing at the three-point line. And I'm honestly surprised that she didn't even shoot the ball, but she didn't shoot the ball. And Caitlin Clark had kind of waved her off like, I'm not worried about you shooting. And she didn't shoot it. And Iowa won. And Iowa ended up going to the national championship. They lost, but, that's kind of disrespectful. Well, Raven Clark was the primary. Now, Caitlin Clark started the game off really, really well. She started the game off with 18 points or 21 points in the first quarter. She was playing amazing. I think she broke a record for most points in the first quarter of a national championship game. I might be wrong, but I think that's what I saw. Either way, Caitlin Clark was balling in the first quarter. Second quarter comes around. Raven Clark becomes the primary defender on Caitlin Clark. We didn't hear much out of Caitlin Clark after that. I think she got a majority of the points she got after that from the free throw line. I think she hit a couple of shots, but Raven Clark was making life very hard on her, and you could tell that game meant something to her. But really great outing from South Carolina. Did you guys watch this game? I thought it was amazing. I honestly was rooting for Iowa. I'm an underdog guy. I knew South Carolina was a favorite. I mentioned it last week, or I mentioned it on Twitter. After watching South Carolina play in the semifinals, I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to beat this team. They're really good. Nobody did beat this team. They won it. But, I was rooting for the underdog in Iowa. Obviously, it's a good story for Caitlin Clark to win a national championship after the amazing college career she's had. Did you guys watch this game? What did you think about it? South Carolina, kudos to you guys. Great game. Great outing. Way to go undefeated, 38-0. First time since anybody's done it since 2016. I'd love to know the last time a men's team went undefeated on the men's side of the bracket. Obviously, I'm recording this on Monday, so tonight we have the men playing the national champion. UConn versus Purdue. Zach Edey, Klingon, 2 7-footers. Who will get the best of who? UConn looks like they've been on a crash course for victory ever since they stepped on the court this year. A lot of people thought they wouldn't be back here because they lost some pieces last year, but they look better this year than they were last year. And, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Honestly, actually, also, last week I mentioned, I don't know if I thought that 11-point favorite for Alabama, that 11-point spread against Alabama was generous for Alabama, but Alabama actually covered. I think they lost by like 6 or 8 or something like that, but they hung around. So kudos to Alabama. Obviously you lost, but kudos to you for proving me wrong. So, I was wrong. 11-point favorite was not, 11-point spread was not generous. It was right on par with where you guys are at. So good job to y'all. You guys covered, so good job. Good job. What do you guys think about this? What did you guys think about South Carolina winning the national championship? Obviously this won't come out till Tuesday. So you guys can let me know what you guys thought about the national championship Monday night, UConn versus Purdue. How was that game? What did you guys think about it? Leave a comment below and we will move on. Malik Neighbors. So there was a report that reportedly said Malik Neighbors has off the field issues, which I think is very, very convenient for it to come out. And also on topic with this, Micah Parsons, somebody is reporting that Micah Parsons, that people are wearing thin with Micah Parsons in the Cowboys locker room, which I think is funny because he's up for a big contract extension. He's been playing really well. I think he's been, to the Pro Bowl every year. He's been in the league. I think he's been an All-Pro a couple of times. So, it's interesting now that, he's been a great teammate, great everything for the last 3-4 years that he's been in the league. And all of a sudden when it's time for him to get paid, he's a locker room issue. Same for Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors has been an amazing player every year that he's been, I've never heard any issues about Malik Neighbors being a locker room problem or having locker room issues or having character issues. But all of a sudden, now that it's draft season, now that the draft is a couple weeks away, I don't know. He may have some off-field issues. Him going to a big city may be a problem. Like, where do these things come from? Who says these things? And how is it always that when somebody is about to reach a pinnacle of their career, like, the NFL draft, getting drafted in the first round, or like getting paid a big time contract, which Micah Parsons is due. Why is it always these reports that come out that are going to shit on the player's character, that are going to put the player's stock down, which is what the owners and what these NFL teams want? In Malik Neighbors' position, they want him to fall in the draft to whoever is putting these reports out there. They want him to fall to him and not go where he's projected to go, which is probably top 8, top 10, or top 5, top 10. On Micah Parsons' standpoint, they're trying to say this so that his value is lessened and they can use that as a bargaining chip when negotiating his new contract. It's like, well, but he's the one in the negotiation. So how is he going to listen to them say, well, these are the reasons why we want to pay you less because you're a locker room issue? And it's like, well, go ask my teammates. Just go through there and ask my teammates. Who in there says I'm a locker room issue? Now, if they were to talk to the players and the players corroborated that, that'd be one thing. But I don't think that's been something that's been said about Micah Parsons. Even Trayvon Diggs came out and was talking about that's BS. Because it is. It's like, why are these reports that always come out right when somebody's about to reach their heights? Like, somebody's about to reach a high point in their career and all of a sudden they're a problem. They're an issue. Like, they have off the field issues. They have character issues. People in the locker room don't like them. I just think it's so funny. I think it's so funny. These guys are about to get paid. Malik Neighbors is about to get paid. Obviously, he's at LSU, so I think he's doing fine on NIL. But about to go to the NFL, get some money, and reach his dream of playing in the NFL. And Micah Parsons is about to be able to take care of his family for generations. And he's an issue. I just don't buy it, man. I'm not buying it, and I think it's funny. What do you guys think about this with the Malik Neighbors situation? And what do you guys think about this with the Micah Parsons situation? Like, what are you guys' thoughts on teams doing this? How do you think these reports get out? Do you think it's the teams like Jerry Jones doing this to Micah Parsons? Whatever team wants to draft Malik Neighbors? Do you guys think this is right? Do you guys think this is just a part of how things go in the NFL? What do you guys think? leave a comment down below. Let me know, and we will move on. Okay, that is going to conclude my video. I didn't get subscriber questions, not because I didn't get any. Nobody's been asking really a lot of questions anyway, so I'm not really mad that I didn't ask for questions, and I've been going for an hour already, so I'm glad I didn't have any questions today. But I forgot to send out my, asking people to ask me questions, so that's why I don't have any questions. But maybe next week you guys can ask me some questions and I'll answer them. But I appreciate you guys for tapping in. Thank you guys for viewing the channel. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know any topics that you guys want me to tackle next week. Let me know any breakdowns you guys want me to do. I appreciate you guys' support. Thank you guys for showing love to the channel. I will see you guys next week.